Light the beam, because it's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, aka the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, is my faithful co-host, the People's Champ, Tim Keck.
Yes, Kevin. Today we're talking about The Exorcist Believer, a real thriller. If you haven't seen The Exorcist before, you know, two little girls wander off, they get possessed, and their parents are like, how do we fix this? Well, they try to do it with an exorcism. Does it work? I'd say 50%.
Wow.
Kevin, what are your first thoughts on this movie? What were you thinking going in, and did it meet your expectations?
I went into this with rock bottom expectations. I'd seen the reviews beforehand. I'm trying to do this less, but I had seen the reviews out of morbid curiosity based on how bad David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy ended last year. And so I knew this was supposed to be an extremely bad movie. And what fascinated me is the extent to which it really does feel almost like a fourth installment of the David Gordon Green like sequel trilogy saga. This is like, it picks up, you know, the Halloween reboot that he did in 2018. That's a great movie. That's a worthy successor, in my opinion, to the first Halloween movie. It's obviously not as good, not as classic, but if you're going to do a sequel, do it like that. And then Halloween Kills was bizarre, and Halloween Ends was inexplicable. And this just picks up right where Halloween Ends left off. It's like just a complete train wreck of a movie. So any low expectations I had were proven to be too high. How about you, Tim?
Well, from what I've heard, you know, rumor is, you know, Lionsgate's trying to crank out some at least potential trilogies and series so that they can be a little more marketable, maybe to sell. So the expectation for this, I think, is definitely that this is one of three.
Mm-hmm.
If this is where we're starting, I think we're getting off to a rough. I think it's going to be rough. I think it's going to be rough unless, Kevin, he's doing like a peak thing where, if you're right, where he's picking up after Halloween 3, like that's the top of like shit mountain. Mm-hmm. And maybe you have to wait till the third one of these to like really assess how the series is. Maybe this one's just laying the groundwork, like to kind of like get over, you know, all the connections to the first one. And now they're like, okay, now we can get into fresh territory. Now we could do whatever we want. Now we could start having fun.
Sure.
I decided going into this that I was going to have a good time. We went to the movies, had a group of people. It was good. The first part of this movie, I think, is kind of great. Like the first third is pretty solid, and I was enjoying it. And then the middle third, I don't know if it was, the theater, the atmosphere, or the gummy hitting just right, but I could not stop laughing for the middle third of this movie. I thought it was some of the funniest, dumbest, like over-exaggerated shit I've ever seen in my life. And then the last third was like, okay. And that's kind of the movie. But I had a good time. I had a good time watching it. I had fun. But by the end of the movie, it felt like people were roasting it. You know, there were really people there.
The theater turned.
What the theater turned on it for sure, which I don't remember since Halloween 3.
Yeah,
people turned on that movie too so quick, and it had the same exact energy of like, what are we doing here? Energy.
Oh, dude, I can't. So yeah, people were openly laughing in our screening of Halloween Ends last year. We saw it a little bit late. That one we didn't see on the release day, which bummed me out. I almost like to see a horror movie on the release day. I feel like you get the best energy on that day.
Yes.
But we still had fun theater energy just because the theater was laughing, mostly spurred on by us. I can't remember if I brought this up on our episode about it last year, but there's a title card at one point where events have been happening, creepy events have been happening. And then a title card shows up on the screen that says October 31st. And very loudly, Tim says, "What day was it?" Just phenomenal stuff. And I feel like that kind of energy is exactly what was happening in Exorcist Believer. We, at one point, there's a monologue that Chris McNeil has that is so fucking funny. I could not stop laughing. Tim, if the gummy was hitting you when this was happening, that monologue had to feel like it was 40 minutes long because I was stone cold sober and I was like, when is this gonna end?
Dude, that was absolutely insane. This woman gets her eyes stabbed out by the ghost of like the ghost that haunted in the original Exorcist movie, which we watched, and we're gonna be covering on the pod next week. So stick around and enjoy that if you're, may want to watch a better movie, I would say.
Yeah.
Also, this woman is like not related to really any, like she wasn't in the first Exorcist. She's just like the cousin of somebody. Was she really? Who was she in that?
Yeah, she was the mom in the first Exorcist.
Yeah, but she's not playing the mom.
Yeah, she is.
I thought she was playing like a cousin in this or something.
No, she's playing herself. She's reprising her same character. And then that's when Linda Blair shows up at the very end and it's like, oh, Reagan's back.
I don't know. I don't believe you with this, honestly. Because she's playing Ellen Bernstein. Is that who the mom was in the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then maybe it makes sense. I don't know. It seemed.
Wait, so you thought she was just a complete non sequitur character?
I honestly thought it was, hey, I'm somebody's cousin. Because she's like, I didn't see The Exorcist, but I did see what was going on before. No, you're right. It is Chris McNeil.
That's the thing. She wasn't in the room. So that's just them playing with semantics, which I mean, credit to a certain degree, because sometimes I feel like movies get loose with that. Like the way that all the Avengers movies play with random people on the street knowing the specifics of the final battle in Endgame. So I do like that they acknowledged, hey, I wasn't in the room when the exorcism actually happened. And it's also kind of weird because, yeah, you think about that character in the first one, not ever really getting the full payoff of seeing it. But we'll talk about that next week.
We'll talk about that next week. So now with this new information I have, at the time I thought it was just some random woman who was like tangentially related to this person. And for some reason I thought the actor was playing another character or something. I don't know. Because she shows up and she's like, oh, it knows me. It knows I'm here. All this stuff. Like she has this bond with this thing, which I'm like, why the fuck does it have a bond with this random ass woman? and then the possessed girl stabs both of her eyes out with crucifixes, and she reacts so nonchalantly to the whole thing that it is insane. And then the next thing, she gets her eyes stabbed out, they take her to the hospital, and then they just like cut to like this monologue she's giving in this hospital, and her eyes have been stabbed out, and she's again pretty chill about the whole thing. There's no like, get away from me. My life is permanently altered because of you. Like this thing didn't want anything to do with me until I went there. It doesn't make any sense. But then she talks for a solid like 90 seconds. And it's definitely longer. And I was waiting for the guy to just get up and leave because she's blind. Oh, God. And I was like, it'd be funny if you just got up and went. But she talks for so long. And it's just nonsense. It's about, I don't even remember what it was about. It's just filler commentary. I was dying laughing during that.
It was so funny. I think the real world scenario behind it is this is an esteemed actor from a different era of film. And I think it's a little bit like when, an action movie star from Thailand shows up in a John Wick movie and they let them win, or at the very least not die as a sign of respect. I think people making this movie probably wanted to cut some of that monologue out, but they're like, she's like 88 years old. We can't do that. So they just left the whole thing in, but they did this thing that it's what people do in TikToks to shorten things up and get more story in, where they dovetail a new sentence before the previous sentence has really ended all the way. So it's just kind of this weird, like editing cut of like dialogue over dialogue over dialogue to make this insanely long monologue out of this thing. And it's just completely preposterous how long this thing goes on.
Were they cutting to other stuff during this, or was that the last monologue? Because at the end, they run it back with another gigantic monologue that again is incredibly pointless. And they're just like trying to wrap this thing up, and it just goes on and on. And the woman, it's just like Paula, the neighbor, who at first I was like, Paula deserves to die. And then at the end, then like 15 minutes later, it's like, oh, Paula's like the best human being in the world. She seems like she really cares about these guys and like is actually, I thought she was like a mean neighbor. And then it turns out she's like, she actually cares about them somehow. She just goes on. And she starts it by like sitting at a table with like a cop, right? And she goes, what do you think? What was it? What do you think hope is or something?
Oh, yeah. That was another incredible one. The
like,
fact
what do you
that she
think
just
hope
dives
is?
right back in.
What do you think hope is? And then like the cop is like about to answer and she like waves him off and she's like, I think hope is. And then just talks for 5 minutes about hope while we see other things like, oh, we're wrapping up the story nicely. And it's like, I don't know. What the fuck did Paula do? Paula sucked. I mean, Paula was pretty much useless in this exorcism thing. She was like, I used to be a nun, so I can do this. And then immediately, like the girls like call her fat or something, and she's like, oh, and like walks away and like can't do it. And it's like, grow some balls, grow a spine, do something, figure out your life, Paula, and get back to us. You can't just be like, yes, I've got this exorcism, and then and then like the guy the ghoul or whatever, the demon says something mean to you, and you're like, oh, I can't keep going. I don't know. That's the weirdest part of the exorcism thing. Is the whole like the exorcist, like the demon, watch out, it will hurt your feelings. And it's that's like the scariest thing about it. Like it might gore your eyes out. It might occasionally. There's no rhyme or reason to the violence. Sometimes it'll gore your eyes out, or sometimes it'll just make you feel terrible about yourself.
Yeah, it's exactly like the John Mulaney bit about teenagers. The demon just knows exactly what your weak spot is that you don't want anybody to make fun of, and that's right what it's going for.
Kevin, you got a thief for this thing?
Do I have a thief? If I had to pick a thief, I think that the opening, I'm with you. I think the opening third of this movie is not bad.
Yeah.
I think I actually said to Lauren, hey, I don't think the reviews are all the way right on this one, just because, first third, I'm having a good time. The stuff in Haiti was heartbreaking, but it's cool to see. And I like the set piece where or not set piece. I like I don't know what it adds in to the plot. This idea that the unborn child has some sort of protection over it. But I also wasn't clear, because so much of Christianity, depending on how devout the Christianity is, views any other religions as witchcraft. So I was like, oh no, is this going to get them into some trouble? Like all that. I do want to talk a little bit about that later, but
yeah,
the relationship between Leslie Odom Jr. and his daughter, I thought was wonderful. The friendship, these two girls, I thought it was great. Pretty much up until the possession happens, I thought this was a pretty good movie. Yeah,
Leslie Odom Jr., he doesn't necessarily carry the movie, but he definitely carries the emotional weight of the movie.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like talking and like, shaking hands outside, or like, two people are like lifting a table together and then they like hug it out after or something, like pat each other like, hey man, great job with that table. We did it. And it's like, why are we watching this? What do we need from this? And then Leslie Odom Jr. is like dead set and like the emotional center and like wants his daughter. That's all he cares about. It's the driving force behind the movie. And if he's not crushing it, or if he's not, bringing that emotion to it, this would be a really unwatchable movie, I think.
Yeah.
My
sure.
thief.
Did you have there we go. That's what I was going to ask.
Kevin, do you want to ask me if I have a thief?
Yeah. Tim, what's your thief? Do you have a thief?
Yes, I do have a thief. I liked when they first get possessed and they go to the hospital, the scenes with the girls in the glass, I thought were awesome. What was the Catherine, the girl that we don't care about as much?
Yeah.
When we go in and she's like standing at the glass and looking kind of nuts, that was the first time where I was like, oh, let's do it. Like, let's fucking go. I was like, yes, let's see some creepy girls doing weird stuff, moving their bodies all insanely. I was all in on that. And then the jump scare of like the girl we do care about slapping the glass and it breaking. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I liked it. I thought that part was neat.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I think both girls did a really good job acting possessed. I do think Catherine takes it though. She was a phenomenally creepy possessed person.
Yes. You think Catherine was creepier
Yeah.
than Angela Fielding?
Angela, yeah. I think Catherine beat Angela. Catherine had a couple things that were very unsettling.
I don't know. I kind of walked away thinking Angela was like was better, but I could be wrong. I mean, I guess I could be convinced either way. They both were pretty creepy, I thought.
Well, this is a competition, so we do need to determine a winner by the end of this podcast. That's fine.
All right. Yeah. I mean, Catherine, I think wins in the hospital. If we're going purely off the glass thing, the initial reveal of her being like all weird and stuff, but like, no, sorry, did I say Catherine? The one we don't care about wins in the hospital. And then Angela gets the things where it's like she's scratching like "help me" into the leg, which is another callback to this move to the original movie. Kevin, I do have a beef though.
Please.
Which I don't know. Do you want to talk about the exorcism now? Because it seems like the rules and it seems like nonsense, and the stakes seem kind of low, and they can take breaks whenever they want, and it hurts their feelings. And then they're like asked to pick a girl, and then the father picks his daughter, and then that's the one that dies. And it's like, I want some kind of a moral to this. And maybe that's kind of like a part of The Exorcist, is that there isn't any moral. This is all just random bullshit that's happening. And, it is what it is. They didn't even necessarily lean into like a religious thing. I would kind of be more into it. I'm a real sucker for, like Hitler lost World War II because he lost the spear of whatever that stabbed, the side of Jesus Christ. Like, I like something where it's like a purely fantastical take that like is somehow manipulating history and stuff. And in that way, I think I would be excited about like deep Catholic mythology of like doing The Exorcist, really diving into it, like what demons are involved in this, like the specifics. And they don't really do that. And in fact, at the end, what beats them is Leslie Odom Jr., who at some point begins to believe again, and he's praying, and that kind of works. But really, it's like the moments when he's begging and like telling his daughter to come back. It's like an emotional exorcism as opposed to a religious, ritualistic one. And it's fine. It's cool. It's just weird. It kind of takes some of the heat out of the end. What did you think?
I'm right there with you. You knew somehow that this is what I wanted to circle back to, is the fact that they decided to go more inclusive with the religions that were represented in the movie in terms of having some sort of an effect on this entity, which was an interesting choice. It's something I've personally thought about a lot. I swear to you, I will show you, I have pages of notes on this sort of thing, because it's something that, I mean, longtime listeners to the show will know that I've name dropped this a couple times, but I've been working on my own demon movie script for some time. So I have a lot of notes. I have a lot of thoughts about this. I don't think they did it great here, because they kind of just showed everybody getting rocked by this thing. And they don't really give you any reason to believe that they have an underlying mechanism to explain why some of these things are working and why some of these things aren't working. That's something you often see with hard magic stories, is even if you don't know the exact reason that something's happening, it feels like there is a good reason that that thing is happening. In this case, it's really frustrating to see so many people from so many different spiritual backgrounds all losing their faith when confronted with something that should immediately reaffirm the existence of their faith. And that is my biggest problem with possession and demon stories everywhere. There has never been a single good priest in an exorcism movie because these priests see a demon and they lose their faith. The thing the demon is trying to get you to do is lose your faith. If there's a demon, there's an afterlife. If there's a hell, there's a God. How is that making you lose your faith? Oh boy. It's unbelievable. And you know that this thing is trying to trick you. I mean, it's completely fucking ridiculous. So the fact that they had this thing not only take down some devout, I think like evangelical Christians, but also take down a couple other religions. It's like, what are any of you doing here?
Oh my God. I laughed so hard too. There's like there was like a priest who like is just chicken shit.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to do any part of this. And Paula's like, come, you gotta come into the house. You gotta help us. And he's like, no, I can't do it. And he's like, hands her a Bible. He's like, also take this cross. And I was half expecting him to keep handing her stuff and just fill her arms with shit. And he gives her like this incredible pep talk and then immediately gets in his car and leaves. And which is like insane. And then later she comes out like in one of their intermissions from exercising this person, knocks on the priest's window. Turns out he just parked down the street and he's praying. He's got his rosary and his Bible. And she says the fight's in there, which I actually thought was a pretty cold line to say to a priest. I really like that. But then all of this is to set up the priest walking in at like a quote unquote pivotal moment in this whole thing. And they treat it like, I don't know, Jordan running out on the field like after Space Jam or something, like holy shit, Jordan's here. Like can't believe he made it. Like this is the big time, you know. Man, I'm trying to, oh man, there's definitely like an NBA player who looked hurt and then ran out of the back. Oh man, Daniel Bryant at WrestleMania 30, we're in New Orleans, triple threat match. He's put through a table. They take him to the back. And no, is he down? You think he's done? You think he's getting medical like evac? And no, he runs back to the ring. He gets off the backboard, runs back in the same way this priest ran back in to promptly die, right? Like his neck gets stabbed immediately. So again, What does this mean? What does any of this mean? What's the point of this? Chaos, Kevin, absolute chaos.
Well,
Kevin,
Tim,
did you have a specific beef or was that kind of the same thing?
That's kind of my biggest beef. This ending was reshot. So I was going to bring up that the original Exorcist movie was famously plagued with problems. It was considered to be a cursed production. There still allegedly are aspects of the curse that persist to this day. So I was interested as soon as they started making this movie to see if the curse would follow them in any way, shape, or form. And I think it did, mostly just in the form of reshoots and changes being made during the production. I guess a lot of the reason that the Chris McNeil character is framed in this movie is because they changed how they wanted her to be in the story during the reshoots. So there's a lot of stuff left over from before. There's a little bit of inconsistency in terms of, you know, when she needs a cane, when she's able to go up a giant staircase, no problem.
I forgot about that.
I thought what was going to happen here is I thought it was going to be that she was so moved by her experience with Reagan in the first movie that she went into the convent and became a nun and is now dedicated to performing exorcisms herself. I thought that would be rad if she is the Father Marin character, the old priest that then is going to meet a young priest and help people out. No, they don't do any of that. She's just kind of interested in spirituality.
But Kevin, she's not an exorcist.
Right. Yes.
Right.
She makes it very clear. They go out of their way to make sure you know that there is not a single exorcist in this movie. That line killed me, dude.
So funny. Like they say it like 5 times about her, where it's like, I know a lot about exorcisms. I was there. It was my daughter. I was around it. I wrote the book on it, but I am not an exorcist.
It's like if you went to go see the movie Teen Wolf, and in the first act of the movie, Michael J. Fox is like, let me be clear, I'm not a teen anymore. It's like, are we going to get a Teen Wolf?
I'm barely even a wolf anymore. I've been domesticated and broken in. Ready to
Yeah,
go.
well, I may not have seen the teen wolfing from the first movie, but I've spent a lot of decades thinking about it. Um, so yeah, the big changes there. Originally, they were supposed to show the demon that is possessing the girls in this. I won't spoil what the name of the demon is for those demon heads out there, but they do have a demon that they picked out and hinted at in this movie that did not end up getting shown. I think the costume cost like $12,000, and it was like a couple hours of makeup they had to apply every day for the actor. Didn't end up using any of the footage whatsoever in this one. Here's a beef, not Pazuzu. The whole point of the Crispin Deal character is that this same demon is haunting new people. Different demon. Not even the same demon from the first movie. It would be like we had Jamie Lee Curtis in another Halloween movie, and the killer is not Michael.
I thought they said it was the same demon, or she said it was the same demon.
Yeah, she said it was the same demon. It is not the same demon.
How do you know it's not the same demon then?
The demon in the original movie was Pazuzu. This demon is not Pazuzu.
Wow. Okay. Pretty fun.
I think the biggest evidence of a curse for this movie, though, is the fact that it originally had the coveted October Friday the 13th release window. And it moved because of Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift came in when she announced that she was releasing the Eras Tour in theaters. Unprecedented deal that was made with IMAX and AMC theaters. She went straight to them. She didn't go through any of the rest of the AMPTP, and said that she wanted Friday the 13th for the release date. And it scared the producers of The Exorcist so much that they bumped theirs forward a day. So an Exorcist sequel got moved off of Friday the 13th because of Taylor Swift, which is, I mean, hey, all power to Taylor. Extremely funny that this happened to an Exorcist movie.
Yeah.
It's cursed.
Yeah. So are we going to be seeing Taylor Swift in IMAX then?
Yeah. Next week.
All right.
This week.
Kevin.
Wow. Days away. There's no way we get tickets like 4 days.
So soon. Kevin, I have a question for you.
Yes, Tim.
The great Jimmy V once said, to me, there are 3 things we should all do every day. Number 1 is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number 2 is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number 3 is you should have your emotions move to tears. Could be happiness or joy, but think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. Kevin, was The Exorcist Believer a heck of a day?
Tim, let me tell you, I laughed all right. I laughed a whole lot. I thought, why are they doing this? Did I cry? Yes, I did, because of how hard I was laughing. Tim, this was a heck of a day.
I was confused why you wanted to do this, because the tears part, man, for a second I was like, oh man, did you cry when like girl number 2 dies at the end? Or
no. I didn't care about them. I didn't care about most of the characters.
What about the beginning when his wife dies and they have the baby and there's like the weird reveal that he wanted to save his wife, but she died. Also, that part was funny to me because the doctor's like, you have to pick one. We can't save both. And he's like, save my wife. And they're like, ooh, we saved the baby though. Like, how do they mess that up? They're like they immediately shoot the mom. And then he's like, actually, I want to save my wife. And they're like, ooh, we just murdered your wife.
I don't think they shot the mom.
I don't know. It's just funny.
What do you think happened to that hospital?
Why did they have to choose? Why did they have to choose? Oh my
God. Old Yeller Memorial Hospital?
I think if you're gonna call your shot like that, and you're like, listen, I'm a doctor. I'm such a good doctor. You pick which one you want to save, and I'll do it. I'll crush it because I'm an amazing doctor. And then they pick one, and then they're just like, ooh, here's the opposite of what you wanted. Not only did I make you make the hardest choice in your life, I also negated the power of that choice completely. It's kind of, honestly, I'm realizing it now, it's kind of what the demon did at the end of the movie, right? As he chose his wife, got the daughter, and then the father chose his daughter and saved the other girl.
It is and it isn't, because it's a false equivalency. In the first part of the movie, both of those people are people that mattered to Leslie Odom Jr. And I'm not saying that Catherine didn't matter to him. It looks like his daughter's best friend, or maybe not, because Catherine's parents have never even heard of, is it Abigail?
Yeah.
So unclear. That's a little bit weird. That probably deserves looking into a little bit more on their part. But I think it's a false equivalency, because in the end, it's a choice that's put against two people. The end of it is the boat dilemma from the end of The Dark Knight, where the prisoners and the citizens have to decide whether or not to kill each other. So I don't think their parallel worked as well as they thought it did. I think originally that was one of the things they reshot about the ending too, is in the original ending, both of the kids were supposed to live. And he said that it didn't play right. They shot it and he's like, they just shouldn't have an easy win at the end of this movie. We got to make it hard. So
it didn't play right. Unlike this, which played incredibly well and exactly how they wanted it to.
Check Rotten Tomatoes. It's going gangbusters.
I've got another question for you. Is it really?
Please. No, fuck no. It's kind of like a 14%.
Kevin, The Exorcist Believer, is it better or worse than Evil Dead Rise?
Oh, it's worse.
I think it is too. Better or worse than Ant-Man Quantumania?
This is tough. It's right now, this decision is the first act of Exorcist Believer versus the Kang scenes in Quantumania.
Do the highs of this movie equal the highs of Quantumania? Which, I don't know. I thought Kang was great in it. Ant-Man fighting Kang was cool. I feel like I have just the marvel of it. I feel like I have it ahead of this.
Yeah,
honestly, which puts it, third to last, right above Knock at the Cabin, which I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Is this prestigic, tragic, a whiff, solid? Is this a whiff?
I definitely think it's a whiff. Yeah, I think it's a whiff for sure.
And then how would you rank it? Like, would you say it's, I think this is this fun bad? Maybe that seems like the most optimistic look at this. Like the best it can be is fun bad. Or maybe it's just not good. We don't have a just not good. Is it fine?
I don't even think it's fine. It's tough because fun bad, I want to associate with movies that are just a good time. Like you can put them on and, kind of muck around.
Yeah, this isn't that.
This is not that.
Maybe it's just bad. Might just be bad.
Yeah, I think it's just bad.
Man, that's a bummer. I was really rooting for it.
Just a bad whiff.
Just a bad whiff. Bummer, man. Well, on that note, I don't think this podcast was a bad whiff.
No, I don't either. I had fun. Did you have fun? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. We'll be back here next week with the original Exorcist. I think it's better, but I'm pretty interested to hear some more about what you think about it, Tim, because you've said some things via text that are making me nervous. We will see you back here next week. Until then, everybody, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy. Bye.
And thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for doing that. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, spread the word, get it out there.
Specifically tell an enemy. Really, find one person that you don't talk to a lot and just send them a link to the show with no context.
Oh man, it'd be such a brutal prank if you found just like the person you hate the most, and then you just sent them like your favorite podcast episode we've done, and oh man, and then they got dependent on it, and it was like, but you knew it was like your suggestion, and it becomes a part of their life, and they start telling people, and the pod blows up even more, and the whole time you're like, yeah, but I did that for that. Like, think about the power you'd have over them for the rest of your life, knowing that you opened their world and gave them, the glory of Tim and Kevin talking about the Exorcist Believer.
They wouldn't even see it coming.
Bye.
Bye.